Welcome to the Sunmall podcast, where we interview the stars of e-commerce. So today we have Ann Carlson, Jiminy's. Nice to have you today, Ann. The first question I had is maybe you can talk a little bit more about your background, or how you got into e-commerce.
Yeah, you bet. I've been in consumer packaged goods basically my whole career, but I started in consulting. So I was with Accenture for the first 10 years of my career. And then I was traveling a lot and I was trying to stay more local because I had a daughter at that point. And so I worked for Diageo, which is one of the big alcohol beverage companies, actually might be the largest in the world. And when I was there, I did my first startup. It was actually fully funded by Diageo. So they called it their New Business Ventures Group. And that was a lot of fun. And from there, I got bitten by that whole entrepreneurial bug. And when I left there, I started my own company and I ended up selling that to IRI. So I worked for IRI for a few years as part of the contract. And then finally, I ended up in the pet industry, again, trying to stay close to home. And I was really lucky. I walked into Del Monte, and it was right then Del Monte got acquired by private equity. And I got to do project sort of determining where the profit pools were within the business. And it turned out that it was all in pet. So we ended up selling off the canned food business, rebranding as a pet food company, and then got acquired again. And again, trying to stay in the Bay Area. And decided to start my own company, and that's Jiminy's. And at Jiminy's, we make sustainable dog food and treats. And what makes it sustainable is we replace that traditional animal protein, the cow or the chicken, with insect protein.
Before we dive into Jiminy's, I just want to know, were there any kind of key lessons that you learned from the consulting, these internal ventures, that you try to apply to Jiminy's?
Consulting was a fantastic beginning of my career because you walk into so many different types of businesses. And the very first thing you have to do is get the lay of the land. So it gives you that bird's eye view on how businesses work. And then you become laser focused on solving the problems. Where are the issues in this business and what's really important? And are there things that are not important that we could peel away, get rid of, and make things more streamlined? Learning how to do that early in my career, I apply it to everything that I look at. Let's focus on the things that are really important and do those well.
You can't be good at everything, so you really got to prioritize, really focus on the key blockers.
Businesses that we always end up adding, oh, we need more of whatever it is. When you start to really look at it, you end up having a lot of fluff. And so, really recognizing what's critically important and getting rid of those pieces that really don't matter because you can spend so much money on those and they just don't add anything to the bottom line.
Makes sense. There's only like an incentive. Oh, let's do this new thing. Oh, so you're doing this new pet food with the cricket protein. How did you guys get the first 100, first 1,000 customers, get that initial traction?
When we first started, we were really focused on independent pet stores. And we had a colleague who had a business, and she offered to give us a little bit of space in her booth at a trade show. And so we had this one little shelf of treats, and we took that into the trade show, and we walked away from that trade show probably with maybe 50 stores that brought our products in. So that was really the start, and it was really crazy too because we were still learning how to talk about it, learning what really mattered to those customers, and it was like trial by fire because you had to figure it out on your feet at this show. So it's pretty exciting and a kind of a great way to begin.
Just randomly got this introduction to this trade show, and then using your interpersonal sales skills, really figuring out what worked and getting in stores there. Are trade shows still something you guys go to?
Actually, they're really important for us. It's a great place for us to be able to meet our existing customers and show them what's new because we always try to have something that's exciting and new that's coming down the pike. But it's also where we meet a lot of new folks as well. And we're still doing a lot of education but it's changed a little bit as time has gone on.
Are there any particular shows you guys have found super helpful?
For us, there's 2 very big pet shows. One is Global Pet Expo in Florida, and the other one, of course, is in Las Vegas. It's called Super Zoo. I think at Super Zoo, we see a lot of more of the moms and pops, and at Global, we see more of the big organizations and the folks coming in from international. They've been a fantastic, place for us to be able to really showcase the product. We were at the Super Zoo just a few years ago, right? It was about a year after we had launched our food, and we were shocked. Somebody showed up and they put a sticker in front of our they didn't say anything. They just put the sticker down, and we looked down, and it said we won an award. We had actually won the best new to market pet food. And that was phenomenal because here we are, this little tiny startup, and we're competing against Arena and Mars and these giant companies, and we win this award. And nobody told us that we had won it either. So we didn't even have somebody there for the award ceremony, nothing. We were just like, "What?"
That's awesome. Any tips on these trade shows? There's obviously going to be a lot of people there. So how do you stand out, make those connections with these store owners?
For us, we really try hard to make sure that whatever we do is creative and draws the eye. We do that with our packaging, but we also try to do it with our trade show booth. You put product into the new product area every time and try to make sure that not only is it drawing the eye, but it's telling people the why. Because for us, our whys are rooted in what the product does for the dog, but that it's also a sustainable alternative for the dog. And so that those two messages, we're trying to make sure we hit both of them every single time, because it really is what sets us apart from everybody else.
It's one thing when you have those in-person conversations with the store owners, but how do you guys transition or try to demonstrate the value and tell this story when you're in store?
We're doing a lot of work where we're educating actually the people that work in the stores. We do training when we first put the product into these stores, but then we have ongoing materials for them to be able to use. One key thing for us is we've got these little cards with QR codes, and it takes them to a whole bunch of different videos. They're all under a minute each, but they're all about our products. And so if somebody can't remember, why is it less land than, say, cows? There's a video on that. And it's quick, it's easy. They can watch it on their phone in between dealing with customers. So we try to make sure we put tools in people's hands and always be focused on the education aspects of it.
So really putting them in a position to succeed and making these digestible QR codes, mobile videos. You guys, outside of trade shows, have you guys tried any of these marketplaces like Fair?
We do work with Fair. We have distributors now as well. And we really like working with the distributor because shipping is a bear these days. It's so expensive. And by sending a truckload out as opposed to like small boxed up orders, you're really able to help yourself on the cost side. But Fair and places like that are fantastic for reaching retailers that might not be using our distributor or might not have heard of us in another way. The other thing is now, we are omni-channel, so we sell to stores, but we also are selling online. So the online channel is we get direct to the consumer and are able to actually have a conversation with them, have an ongoing relationship. And I love that we're able to do that now as well.
Makes sense. So you have the trade shows, you get some connections there. You have distributors, they already have the connections, but they also can handle the shipping aspect to go into the individual stores. And then maybe Fair covers kind of the long tail cases who don't use those distributors. And then obviously it's a little harder to get feedback from in store. So having the D2C allows you to quickly iterate, get feedback on that customer. So speaking of that, how do you get the feedback?
Reviews are such a big deal. We get a lot of information back just from reviews. But we've used all sorts of tools. We've even done things like customer survey when we were trying to decide, are we going to do this new flavor or that new flavor? We let our consumers help us decide. And I love doing that because there's that sense of ownership as well. And we do have VIPs, and the VIPs get access to deals, or if we're doing a promotion, they'll get access to it first. And when we do these kind of, if we want to talk to the consumer, and we've got a survey, those are the folks that we generally speak to first because they have such a different perspective than somebody who doesn't really understand the brand. And then
Oh,
watching the reviews, that social listening
that
is so important.
you guys also like, listen on any of these other channels like Twitter or Instagram?
Oh, totally. Because there's a lot of organic stuff that's going on there. And we also have a group of people that just love the brands. We call them chirpers. They're basically our brand advocates. And they're posting about the brand as well. And it's really interesting to see the things that they do because sometimes they actually give us ideas. One of them actually had a dog that needed to take pills. And she posted a video of her taking one of our treats and using it as a pill pocket. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, I didn't know you could do that with our treats. And then it became this little ad campaign that we had that was like, yeah, these are soft enough and they're less calories, better ingredient deck. Why not use them as a pill pocket? So
That's
it's a
awesome.
lot of user generated content that leads to ideas that go beyond.
So I think you mentioned, you get a lot of feedback from your customers, but when you're launching new products or the formulation, maybe you can talk through the framework you use there.
I'm pretty heavy handed in that area, knowing where I want to take us next. Just thinking through the day in the life of our consumer and what do they need? Because I want to be able to give them sustainable alternatives for every part of the day. So I'm thinking about there's the feeding times. What do they need for those parts of the day? When they're taking their dog for a walk, when they're just hanging with the dog in the afternoon and they might want to give them a snack. And that's really driven our innovation pipeline. And since we're still a relatively young company, there's a lot of things that I still want to get to. We're just making our way through it one by one. It's gotta be incremental. It's gotta be differentiated. I don't wanna do a me too product. There's no reason for it. And then it should be profitable. Oh, and if that's really for our stores, it's gotta be something that makes sense for them as well.
And then speaking of like the product itself, it's a unique product, right? It's crickets there. How do you educate the consumer here?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just starting at the beginning and making sure that they understand that it's a protein like any other protein, and it's equivalent if you just look at the protein, but then if you look at everything else that comes with using that ingredient, there's all these other benefits and then articulating those. We're focused on two key ways that people come into the brand. One of them is they want sustainable products for their whole family. This is an easy way we can talk to them about the sustainability until the cows come home. The second is my dog has an issue. And insect protein actually solves for those issues. So we're talking to them about if your dog has an allergy and it has hot spots and it's itchy, or if your dog has a gut health issue and it's got with its stool or its breath or it's passing gas, we can solve for that as well. We have those kind of conversations with the consumer through social media, through basically anything where we're explaining to consumers.
What have been the best kind of marketing channels for you guys so far?
It's always evolving and changing. You can take the TikTok and Reels example right now. TikTok was the hottest thing, and now all of a sudden Reels is doing better. So we're just constantly watching, monitoring, and trying to be in the right place at the right time. If we're getting pickup in one place, we'll put more effort there. We actually had some interesting things happen early on. There was a Washington Post article that came out, and it was fantastic. It was pets can help fight climate change with an insect-based diet. And so we tried to use that as a Facebook ad, and Facebook rejected it, saying that it was political. And I'm like, "We're
What's that?
selling dog food and dog treats, and you're calling it political." And they were
Yeah.
calling it political because it just said climate change in the Washington Post.
Yeah, you would think like something like this is like a win-win, neutral across the aisle, but I guess yeah, with newspaper, climate change keyword. Totally makes sense. And so I think you mentioned the channels to change. You just got to be on top of it. TikTok, Instagram Reels. How do you guys make that content?
We're startup mode, man. We're using user generated content constantly. We've got the chirpers who help us out, and they all love the brand. So they do really creative things with the product. And like I said, sometimes it leads us down a really great path. But also, they put me in front of the camera a lot too. They've got the series now, Ask Ann Anything. And we've had some crazy things like a seventh grader interviewed me for a class project. And the questions were so funny and so unique that they had me just answer them online, asking me about my favorite animal as a child, or what is my favorite animal now, or was sustainability a thing when I was a kid? Oh, and I'm like, okay, let's go.
So that's really cool about the seventh grader. And then also just backtracking, the founder-led sales, the chirpers, the VIPs, really using their content, the UGC there.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
The best way to do it because they are passionate about the product.
Exactly, right. And I'm sure that passion seeps through the content. And most people, they really care about the review. What are other people saying about the brand, not just yourself. So having that content from loyal customers is obviously going to be super helpful there.
Yeah.
Once you're getting people to your site, how do you guys think about website design and trying to get people to convert?
Yeah, it's funny because right now I'm dissatisfied with parts of the website, and I think I'm always a little bit dissatisfied because I always want to make it a little bit better in this area or that area. So we're always examining the key areas and thinking about what kind of images are we using, what is the messaging that we're leading with. And that's all evolved over the years, because when we first started, it was sustainability, and then we were like, "Oh, people really wanna talk about nutrition." Okay, but nutrition is a huge part of the story. Let's lead with that, and then sustainability is and we're sustainable. It's that little extra something that gets you to be even more excited about the brand.
Is this more kind of your experience and looking at the results? You guys use tools to help you out?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. A lot of it is a gut feel because you look at something and you're like, yeah, something's not working here. But we're looking at the traffic to the site, the bounce rate. We're using SEO. We use as many tools as we can to guide us in the right direction. But at some point, it's a human making a decision.
Makes sense. And then maybe how do you guys think about packaging?
Oh boy, that's a big topic right now because I'm really thinking a lot about our packaging into the future. When we first started, we led with ingredients. And we were trying to make sure that here's what we're putting in this bag. Let's just get that in your face. We're starting to transition more into a benefits led approach. So that's changing up. And I think that's appropriate this stage in our development. The other thing we think about a lot is how it looks on shelf and the colors that we're using. Does it feel differentiated? This is a differentiated brand. It should feel differentiated. So we're very much focused on that and making sure that we're doing the right things so that when it does look, you see it on shelf, your eye goes to it because there's something compelling.
Just backtracking on the site, I know you guys had a lot of kind of like upsells, like the hats, the bags, the scoopers. So
Yeah.
what would the intuition? Yeah,
It's funny. We don't really think of those as an upsell. I think of those as gift with purchase. We need swag. You need giveaways. And what we try to do is we try to do them right, whatever we do. It's got to have the same ethos as the brand. When we did a leash, our leash is made out of recycled water bottles. And we've got a little cricket toy. Same thing. It's made with recycled materials. So just making sure that it all has the right ethos. But then we put it on the website because if somebody does want one, they can get it. But so when we do it as a gift with purchase, they can see what the value is because all of these things cost to make and they have value. And I want to make sure that comes across.
makes sense. So keep really making sure it fits your brand, being super sustainable, and be not strictly like a moneymaker, but more of a gift as purchase, making sure you actually drive that sale.
Yeah.
So just stepping back from Jiminy's, are there any kind of trends you're super excited about overall in e-commerce?
The fact that sustainability is getting recognized as a really important element is fantastic news. Our product can have immediate impact. So a consumer can buy our dog food today, feed it to their dog tonight, and tonight they're using less land, less water, and almost no greenhouse gases because they're using this product. So for me, the fact that sustainability and sustainable practices are being talked about is fantastic.
You have a product where people can just easily, use it today and they are contributing and helping the environment. What is top of mind for you, the big focus next for the next 3 to 6 months?
We've got a new dental chew that is launching. Probably the next 6 months, that is going to be our primary focus as a team. Getting this product to market is so important and so exciting. Going to become a Trojan horse. It smells so good. It's such a fantastic design. I think people are going to be just excited to try the product. And I think it'll drive some of our other products into places they haven't made it yet. It's launching July 3rd, and right now we're getting it into our distribution channels in the right way, training people. And then from July 3rd on, it's going to be continuing to talk about it and explain it to the consumer and to the retailers. Yeah.
And then what's the long-term goal, like 5 years out?
Continue to build the brand and grow. We made the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing privately held companies last year. And I'm intent on making us continue to grow quickly over the next years because that's what we set out to do. We want to make an impact. And then ultimately, the brand, it'll probably end up being acquired. That's just what happens in these kind of industries. But I think we've done something that's remarkable. We've changed the conversation in pet. Sustainability is now something that every publication that you see about the pet industry, they're talking about sustainability. No one was talking about it when we started in 2017. So I feel very proud of that.
That's really awesome. You're really not only your specific business, but also the overall conversation around the industry has transformed, and especially about a really important topic such as sustainability. And then, final question, this is more of a fun one. Any kind of brand or shopping experience you've had recently that you're really happy with, or impressed with, or enjoyed?
That I personally, true confession, I don't shop that often. I'm one of those people that will decide something that I really want, and then I look at it and look at it and look at it. And I finally pulled trigger on something for myself. It was a jacket. And this is so silly, but I gotta say, I was so thrilled with the experience because not only did it live up to my expectation, they delivered it in the nicest pack. I gotta say, the unboxing experience was phenomenal. You opened it up and it was just so nicely put together, like little card for me, and just the whole experience felt as premium as it should have, which was awesome. I actually kept the card because that'd be cool to do this with Jiminy's.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sun Mall Podcast. Please make sure to subscribe.